All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our nostalgic or problematic series where we are currently rewatching Dawson's Creek season 2. We are on episode 5, and this one's called Full Moon Rising.
Yes.
And here is the synopsis. Dawson confronts his parents about their marriage as Pacey stumbles onto an unsettling truth about Andi.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I multitasked when I watched this episode. Did you see my reel?
I saw your reel, but tell the listeners in case they didn't see it.
Okay. So I had to work out. I had to get a workout in. FYI, for those of you that don't know, I am a fitness professional. So it is important for my job that I get regular workouts in. So it was time for my regular workout. And I usually have a pretty structured program I follow, for a certain amount of time. But I did not have time for it that day. I just was like, I have to watch this. I have to watch Dawson's Creek.
I have to.
And I have to get a workout in, and I don't have time to do both. So I was like, all right. The advantage of being a fitness professional is I can think of a workout really quick off the top of my head that I can do while I'm doing something else. So I literally was doing push-ups, and I'd pause the TV and crawl over to my Care Bear notebook and write down notes. Or I'd be jump roping, which that reel made me laugh so hard because it looks like I'm floating. Did you see that?
I did see that.
I laughed so hard because I didn't notice it till I posted it. I look like I'm levitating.
Because it was like fast motion?
Yeah. I was
so you don't really see the rope.
Yeah. It just looks like I'm
That was
floating up in the air.
Yeah, that was funny.
Anyway.
Okay, so that's okay. It sounds like you got a better workout because you were crawling over to write things in your Care Bear notebook.
I mean, it was a good workout. It wasn't what I planned to do that day, but I needed like a total body kind of cardio strength situation. So I just set up a little circuit. If y'all would like to do it yourself, you can find it. I tagged our podcast on it. But anyway.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so let's jump in. Let's go.
Okay, let's go. So first, right off the bat, Joey and Dawson outside looking at
on the roof,
which
is cute.
And they are going back and forth on the science and the science part of full moons and the romance part of full moons.
Yeah.
Right. So Dawson's just with this flowery, like, it's romantic and the best. And Joey's like, it's just something that happens. And our bodies are 70% water and the tides get messed up from a full moon. So do people. And I was like, somehow that all makes sense to me.
But you know what is crazy? So my mom and my sister both worked in the medical field. Well, my sister still does. My mom's retired. But I'm telling you, the full moon thing, wild shit happens in hospitals during full moons.
Wow.
Like my mom, my sister used to work, when she worked out of hospital, she worked nights. She used to dread. My mom worked in the emergency room. So man, when she had to work when there was a full moon, like I'm not kidding, like wild, crazy, their nights would always be. So something does happen.
Yeah.
There are shifts, and like our bodies do weird stuff. So like I don't know if it's science or magic or a little bit of both.
Yeah. I don't know either. But I just thought that was cute, the back and forth between them on that, how they both were looking at it from a different lens. Yeah. That was cute. I have an X, not because I thought it was like problematic, but immediately just I'm not getting a good feeling about Tamara and Mitch hanging out so much.
Yeah.
Because he's buying her warehouse. And in this episode, I don't know if you noticed, you probably did, and I'm sure it was on purpose, Tamara and Gail were meant to look a lot alike. Their hair was the same color. They were in similar outfits. This is the first time I've really seen them standing next to each other. They're the same height.
But to be fair, during that time in the 90s, that's how they made all middle-aged ladies look on TV.
That's true.
Like think about like the Seventh Heaven mom or like Becky on whatever that
Full
show
House.
was.
Yeah, they all looked like
that.
They
all kind of, if you were in your 40s playing a mom or playing an adult figure. Although they said Tamara was 30.
What?
Right?
No, I thought she was like 37. She was 30?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Either way, I know what you mean. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. What do you have so far? Oh, yeah. I know what you're going to say.
Well, the first thing I wrote, because I thought she was done. I thought she was fucking done.
I was like, Danny, you said she was gone.
I thought she was.
And
but
she
then
was
I forgot when I saw her again. I was like, oh, yeah, because there's this other thing that hasn't happened. And it hasn't happened yet, which means there's going to be a few more
still back.
episodes.
Okay.
So I put Tamara is still here. And then I put, as is, creepy, attractive fisherman.
Vincent.
And the first 2 minutes of this episode, guys, there were 2 incidences of acceptable pedophilia.
Okay.
2. It was Tamara and the fisherman. I just mean acceptable pedophiliacs.
I was going to say, I don't think Tamara did anything in those 2 minutes, but Vincent did. Was that a word? Pedophiliacs?
I'm sorry. It's not funny. It's not. I'm laughing at my funny, I don't know what word. Yeah,
I think it's just pedophiles.
Correct.
I think that's what you were trying to say. There were 2 pedophiles shown on screen in separate scenes in the first 2 minutes. Correct. And Tamara was just walking around, but just walking around. It's fine.
She was, but
Vincent was being inappropriate.
Yeah,
from the jump.
And then I'm gonna fast forward, and then we'll go back there when we get there. Like when he was like shocked that when she said she was 16, he addressed them being underage last episode, right?
Yes.
Okay, so whatever.
It was very clear he knew that they were in high school,
right? And then he said, "You're 16," and it's like, you knew that.
She lives with her freaking grandma. Hello?
I mean, did you not notice the doilies?
Yeah. Weird. Yeah.
I don't know.
That was weird. So Vincent's still there, and that was not fun. And he was flirting with her and basically asked her out that night, in that scene, which she at first is like, no about, and then is like, okay, fine. And like tells him when to meet up or whatever. And then she like walks away with that like smile.
I know.
Like happy smile. And I was like, oh,
I know.
I didn't like that. Okay, so I did laugh a little at when Andi comes into the video shop. So many things going on there, and Pacey's working at the video shop.
Yeah.
And they have all the names for porns.
I know.
Jacuzzi Floozy was one. I was dying. I didn't write them all down.
It made me laugh, though, because, of course, he's a teenage boy working alone in a video store who has access to porn.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be watching it.
Yes.
Also, he had on a moon pie shirt, and it made me so excited.
There was a moon pie shirt under his little vest. His little VHS vest. Or his video store vest. I love that. Okay, so then they're at the mall, and did you notice what store they were in?
No,
Abby and Jen?
I just saw Urban Decay makeup,
that's what
and I was like,
too. Urban Decay was so fun. And how Abby's just like casually shoplifting, which isn't funny, but the way that she just keeps talking and like throwing stuff in her bag.
But also a testament to the times of when it was easy to shoplift stuff.
True.
I didn't shoplift, but I had friends who did.
Yeah.
And it was easy.
Yeah. Yeah, because they didn't have all the videos or the sensors or the whatever.
But also, do you want to know something about shoplifting that I learned when my kid worked at TJ Maxx? Y'all don't use this in bad ways.
Don't use this. I know what you're going to say.
Do you know that their policy, they're
not allowed to confront people?
About stealing?
Yeah.
So Caden's like, people steal so much stuff because we can't. They have like one person who like walks around and they're called like, they're not called a security guard. They're called like I don't know, inventory specialist or something.
Okay.
And they're supposed to be watching, but they can't legally like apprehend people.
Yeah.
And so you can like literally watch somebody steal and they just go.
Yeah. I know.
Is that not wild?
And I think it's developed like from the time that this Dawson's Creek was on till now, just as a safety thing, stores are more liable if they give permission for their employees to confront people and something happens.
It's crazy.
Than to just pay for whatever they steal.
But isn't that wild?
It's wild. And I haven't looked this up for a fact, but I work with someone who recently moved from California to a different state. And she said in California, you can't prosecute someone for shoplifting for anything under $999 or less. So people just be walking into CVS and stealing like $800 worth of stuff and walking out because the employees can't stop them and they can't be prosecuted. Again, I have not fact checked this, but she lived there.
That's kind of, it's similar to what happened at TJ Maxx.
Yeah. And that PS just makes everything more expensive for everyone.
Capitalism,
so don't do that.
I know.
Don't do that.
Also, like, oh, no, I'm not going there. I don't feel like it. Okay. Also, speaking to Abby, I wrote, damn, the slap.
Oh, yeah.
But
when Jen slapped Abby.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, okay, Abby's supposed to be this unlikable, right? She's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But man, some of that though is just so how girls can be. when they're jealous, they want to make you feel bad about yourself because they feel bad about themselves.
Yeah, they're trying to like lower your confidence
because they feel
threatened. Totally.
So she deserved that pop in the face.
Well, here, let's look at that though, because
I mean, I don't condone violence, but
I was going to say, because we've talked about which movie was it, when we were talking about when the boys get in a fight and how that was sort of a sign of toxic masculinity.
You're right.
And now we're saying it's okay for girls to hit each other.
Now, I will say, I slapped the shit out of a guy in high school because he told me I was a slut, and I slapped the crap out of him.
Oh, dang.
Sorry, he deserved it, and I don't even care. Hope you're doing well out there. I won't say your name. I mean, who you are.
I think it's fair to say, if you're listening, go away.
No, I'm sure he's fine now. I'm sure.
I'm sure he's a lovely person. Maybe your slap set him straight. Maybe he has that slap to thank.
Then he sicked his cousin after me, who was a girl, to beat me up.
Did she?
She tried. She like stalked me.
No, she tried.
No. We did not get into, guys. Okay. I am not a fighter. Okay. I was in one fight ever in my life, and it was with a
oh God,
a friend of mine in high school, and all I did was pull her hair. So,
wow.
Anyway, it was the end of a school year, and he like sicked his cousin after me, and she like stalked me for weeks.
Ooh, that's scary.
And then it was summer, and then she forgot about me. So, and she was tough. Like, I was scared of her, but she would like drive by my house. She stood outside of a party I was at one time. Like, she was ready to kick my ass because I slapped her cousin. But then I was like, "You really defending whatever?"
Yeah,
we're teenagers, so let's move on.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say.
Violence is not the answer.
But like the developmentally common way that plays itself out, whether you're a woman or a man or whatever, it is what it is.
I know.
Whether it's right or wrong, it exists.
You're right.
It did then and it does now.
Have you ever slapped somebody, Katie?
I don't think so.
It does feel kind of
I'm
good.
trying to think.
That's the only person I've ever slapped.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever slapped anyone.
And it was hard. Like, we were standing in the hall. Our teacher was late. So it was in front of a bunch of people.
Oh, damn.
But he was like, would not leave me alone. It's a long story, but it was like, he was friends with the boyfriend I had. Remember the one I told you we were on a break and it was my fault?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody like found out like that I cheated on the boyfriend.
So he was sort of trying to defend his friend.
Right. But he's also just being a dick because he was a teenage kid. Right. I mean,
of course.
And rumors were flying and blah, blah, blah. And he would not stop. Like, he was just kept on and kept on. And I was like, I said to him, "You better shut up," like something. And so he got in my face.
Damn.
And he was like, "Ha, ha, ha, slut." And I went,
whack.
And when I tell you, it echoed. and like when you see those scenes in movies and people are like, "Oh, that happened."
That for real happened.
But then we had to sit through class together.
Because it was like before class.
Yes.
So
I was crying and like, oh, it was a mess.
Was he a lot bigger than you?
No,
not really. Okay.
Not much. I mean, he was a shorter guy.
Okay.
God, curious. Isn't that funny? I can still remember that. That was, listen.
I bet the people that saw it can still remember it too.
Man, it is kind of funny, but it's not. Violence is not the answer. If I could go back, I would not slap him. I would have addressed him and confronted him and told him to shut the hell up.
Yeah.
But what I should have done was just remove myself somehow.
Yeah, well, hormones, adrenaline, emotions.
So you've never slapped a person?
I really don't think I have. I think I would have remembered.
It is a nice feeling. When you're so in the moment. Let me put it in the moment.
In the moment, right.
When you're mad and they are being really awful.
I was driving from my town to the neighboring town once by myself. I was probably 16 in my first car. And, sometimes when you're first learning to drive, you don't even realize.
Oh, yeah.
Whether I was driving too close to this car or not, I don't know. But there's like basically country roads that get you from one to the other. So I was behind this car most of the way. You couldn't pass people. So we get to the first stoplight in the town we're going to. And she puts the car in park. And she was either a teen, my age, or maybe in her 20s, gets out of the car.
No, ma'am.
And starts walking back toward my car, yelling at me. And is like cursing, like wanting me to get out of the car and fight her. And I'm rolling my window up because it's like a manual window and I can't reach the passenger side. But then the light turned green. And so like a couple cars behind us honked, and then like whoever's in the, so she just got in, and I was also going to be going that way, so I just went straight.
That's the closest she ever came to a slap.
Yeah, and I don't know who that was, but she wanted to kick my ass.
Whoa.
It was scary, and I couldn't get my little window up fast enough.
That's the only time you've ever been close to a physical altercation?
I mean, I'm sure there are others. Some of my college roommates and I, either when we were inebriated or not, got into some pretty good arguments. I don't think they never turned physical, but they probably could have.
Wow. Okay.
Just over like stupid shit, like
I was just
boys and clothes, borrowing each other's clothes without asking, and stupid stuff like that.
I mean, like I said, I only got into that one physical altercation. I don't even know what we were fighting about, but it was like we were having a sleepover, and we were doing like a camp out sleepover. Okay, so it was like tons of us, but like the first part of the night, boys were there, like so it was like a party or whatever, and I don't know what happened, and I had it with her. And she had super long hair, like really, and it was in a ponytail.
Oh.
I walked up to her. I walked up to her, grabbed her ponytail, and yanked her head back.
Oh my gosh.
That's awful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, we scuffled for a bit. We probably did some of these, like, dinosaur slaps. And then we started laughing. And then that was it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what it was about. She would probably know. I'll have to tag her in this.
That's so funny.
Anyway, moving on from physical altercations.
All right. So those are altercations. So right away, Mitch and Gail get into an argument. All their arguments in this whole episode were heartbreaking to me.
It was cringe the whole time. It was cringe. So sad. It was just so sad.
So he's upset with her that she's having a coworker over to dinner and is like accusing her like of not sleeping with him, but just, a history of that.
And I mean, valid.
Yes. But what I didn't love that Mitch did, and again, this happens when people who care about each other are arguing, they dig deep, was that Gail just kept bringing it back to him not working. And I'm the one that supports his family. And it was, to me, like, that makes anyone feel bad, but she was trying to kind of emasculate him.
I know.
And I didn't like that. Yeah. But again, that's what actually happens when people argue with each other. Yeah, and if she had resentment about that, it was coming out.
And you say things when you're in a heightened emotional state, whether it's good or bad, right? You just, know what to say.
You know what to say to get them to react the way you want, or for you to like feel better.
Oh, yeah.
And so I didn't like how she did that.
I didn't either.
I did. Okay. So this is kind of random, but when we're in the restaurant scene, there's a few of them, but Jack and Joey are working. This is earlier in the show because they're in the restaurant again later. But anyway, earlier. And Jack's giving this description of why he likes working in the restaurant. And I felt it. I was like, that's why I always loved working in restaurants. He's like,
I don't even remember what he said.
He says, it's short. It's like 30 seconds. And he's like, every day you meet new people. Where else can you be that all different walks of life could walk through that door? And one day to the next, you don't know like who you're going to meet and what you're going to do. And I was, and it's always busy and you're always moving. I was like, yeah, that's why I loved working at restaurants.
Yeah, that's why I love bartending at the theater.
Yeah.
It's really fun. I mean, now it's volunteering. We do get tips. So we're kind of
make a little money,
but we're not there. We're not there as like an hourly thing, but that's why it's fun. Yeah. Same thing. I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah. It was very quick.
I must've been planking.
It's when he,
I don't know.
You're like, I'm not crawling over to write that down. Well, it was during the part where he says something to her, like, what's got you all bothered? And she's like, oh, this. He goes, no, you're always like this.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's like, well, it's just working here isn't exactly a walk in the park or whatever she says. And then he says the thing about why he likes working in restaurants.
And then I feel for her because, like, when you're unhappy in your life, and you just act miserable all the time, we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
When somebody says something like that to you, because I can remember, like,
someone calls you out on it.
She didn't get defensive right away. Right away. It did happen, but not right away.
Not really, though.
Because you could see her face be like, I can remember times in my life, like when my kids were small and I was doing the parenting alone a lot and Troy was gone a lot. I remember one time he's like, you just seem so miserable. And he was concerned, but I was like, I'm not. Why would you say that? And I'm like, but now looking back, I'm like, ooh, because I had no patience. I was miserable because I was not taking care of myself in the way I needed to be taking care of myself. And which was probably being in therapy, like if we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
But like, I saw that when he said that to her and she was like, ooh, And she did defend herself eventually, but not right away. So I was like, oh, she let it sit in for a minute.
I've noticed that with Jack. She kind of lets down her wall a little more. And I don't know if it's just like an inherent feeling of safety with him because he's
foreshadowing.
He's not. It is.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's not Pacey and it's not Dawson. Yeah. It's not her sister and it's not. If anything, Jack he probably knows about her family trauma. I think they already have talked about it, but like he wasn't part of that part of her life, so maybe that's why she's a little more like, I don't know, she takes kind of what he says with a grain of salt more and gets less defensive. But anyway, I just love that description. And I just have another oof on Mitch and Gail's fight, but we already kind of discussed that.
I put, you know what I put? You're gonna laugh. When Mitch and Gail both have the people there, and they have those weird like 90s glasses. I'm like, those are the smallest glasses of wine ever.
Oh, they're tiny.
They're so small.
Yeah,
like it's probably like 4 ounces of wine. Yeah. I was like, what?
Portion sizes really have changed. Yeah,
I was like,
they were tiny.
2 sips of wine. What?
You have to keep filling that up.
Whoever was in charge of those props, set dressing, boo on you. That's not real life.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, okay, since we're talking about parents, Andi's mom.
I know.
I forgot how sad her whole story makes me. Again, unresolved trauma.
Unresolved trauma.
And untreated trauma.
And I couldn't tell in the first scene when Pacey shows up because they decide to go on a date.
Yeah.
But they're confused about where they're supposed to meet. So he shows up at her house and the mom answers the door and is like setting the table. I knew something was off. And I couldn't tell if it was dementia.
No.
It ends up not being. It's like a trauma-induced mental illness that kind of, according to Andi, turns itself on and off based on the death of her brother.
Well, I think, I don't want to say too much because if you don't remember from watching this before, there's other stuff at play there and then the trauma happened. And so it's not dementia. It's mostly trauma. I mean, because now, side note, since we're speaking of mental health, I was talking to our friend Jen, who is a mental health professional. And I don't know what we were talking about. Something about, I said, do you like diagnose us like listening to the podcast? She's like, oh yeah, all the time. She's like, it always makes me laugh when y'all say something about mental health because we have our own shit. But anyway, when you have severe trauma like she had, which we can just say, they were in a car wreck, she was driving and her son died. Like, how do you not carry that with you?
Right.
And not be really, but nobody's like, the dad just leaves.
Yeah.
Or, well, not, he stayed and they left.
Right.
And yeah, I think it just kind of set her into this mental state that is, and if you don't address mental health issues, they're only going to stay the same or get worse. They're not going to improve.
Right. Yeah. I know. It was really sad.
It just makes me so sad.
Yeah. And for everybody, like for the mom, obviously, and the kids. But then everything on Andi and Jack.
I know.
And then their dad's somewhere else. So he's probably dealing with his own, dealing with it his own way. So yeah, it was sad.
I know.
Okay. So now we have to talk about Vincent.
I know.
At Graham's and them sharing their most embarrassing sexual
activities. And then he talks about his story where he's talking about how he was with a person and then he was like, he, she, or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, ew.
Yeah.
Like 90s problematic again.
And then it was like, but he, she, whatever was cool. And we had a good laugh and we just stayed up all night talking. And I was like, no. If that person went back to your room with you to have sex with you and then you like for whatever reason, you were like, oh, never mind. They wouldn't sit around and talk with you all night.
Well, and also like that whole narrative of that, I don't want to like misidentify this the person, that a trans person or whatever their chosen identity is that I don't know the right label to say because I don't know the situation, but to make it seem like they're tricksters. Like I'm trying to trick somebody. I don't like that narrative that was pushed so much in the media. Like the crying game. Like it was this whole trickster. Like they've got like devious plans. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like,
oh, they're not going to tell you until the last minute. Like what?
Maybe they just assume you know.
Like, right.
Like,
I mean, because their safety
or
would
that
be
attraction is attraction.
Right. Or
period.
Like their safety would be in jeopardy.
Right. That
right?
too. Yeah.
So like, I don't know. But that's the 90s. Again, product of the times, problematic.
And another thing I didn't like, which is also goes into that, is that when Vincent is telling the story for this other person who's not there to tell the story, says, yeah, you know, they had an abusive father.
Oh,
you know,
right.
The whole thing, like always. And I was like, oh, give me a break.
Here we go. Saying that trauma
would make you feel that way,
right.
or want to identify a certain way.
Correct.
It's like, no, every person who identifies as anything, there are people who have trauma.
Right. Like, I mean, I have trauma out the wazoo.
And it was almost like the writers just had to put that in there.
By the way, you don't choose your sexual orientation.
Correct.
Or your gender. It just is part of you. Mm-hmm. So let's just burn that trash where it needs to be.
Yeah, that whole part was horrible.
Like, let's just burn that trash, because if people could choose, it would make life a lot easier sometimes. Mm-hmm. So that's a bunch of bullshit, and I hate it. But again, the 90s.
Yeah. But then what also was terrible about that scene, and I would love to give the writers credit and be like, oh, they did this on purpose to show a juxtaposition, but I don't think they did.
I know what you're going to say, yeah.
When she tells her story of her most embarrassing, and it was getting caught having sex on her parents' bed. I'm like, what a difference. This full-grown man having a night out on the town in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Goes back to a room that he's paying for or whatever. And her story is like, I'm in my mom and dad's house with like my boyfriend and get caught having sex, and they were mad because of their comforter or whatever she said.
But also, why would you go in your parents' room? I don't know. Sorry.
That's weird. Well, it was very cringy, but I was like, man, what a way to just prove that these people are not on the same sexual developmental level.
Right.
Or any developmental level that they should be like physically intimate in any way.
Also, I put the pie scene. No, sir.
The pie scene?
Yeah, where he puts the pie on her mouth.
Yeah.
Also, because filming this, she was 17 and he was a grown-ass adult.
Yeah. And they kissed and stuff.
I know.
Ugh. Well, Pacey was an adult. Yes, Joshua Jackson was 19.
She was the youngest.
Yeah, right. But even so, I mean,
she was 16 in the first season, so she's 17. Yeah. Well, maybe she was 18, but still.
No, thank you.
No. And then, okay. Abby trying to make out with Dawson.
That was so funny.
Like, I know she's supposed to be terrible, but that's why I love her character, because she's just so terrible.
Like, no shame.
But she was like trying to like massage and look out the window at the same time.
To see if Jen's watching. And then she's like, can we just kiss in front of the window so Jen sees us? Can you please? And he's like, get out of here.
I know. And then I was like, okay. So far this season, Dawson has had 2 attractive teenage girls throw themselves at him.
That he's turned down. If that isn't like a middle-aged man writer's fantasy come true in his bedroom.
Dawson with his derpy hair and his cargo shorts.
He is cute.
Oh, girl.
But it's a lot. It's too much.
I know.
To be believable. And then, of course, okay, so then we have where Vincent starts to go too far. Ugh. Well, it's all too far. But
yes.
But to the point that she is actually voicing no. Yeah. And then Grams shows up, which thank God.
I know.
And I did say, go Grams. But then when she scolds Jen later, it's too much. She basically is like, you will show respect for yourself, because she catches them kind of making out and points out that Jen's 16, and of course the guy goes scurrying because he's terrified of Grams and the fact that he is, I think he knew she was a minor, but like now he's caught with a minor.
Well, I know, like maybe he was just pretending like he didn't know she was 16 because they made it clear that he knew they were underage.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was weird.
But I did feel for Jen. I just always feel bad for Jen because she tried to stop it. She realized, look, sometimes you get into situations that you think you want, and then you realize quickly this was a mistake, which I think is what happened to her.
I think so.
And it's like I teach my kids with consent, like a yes can turn into a no at any time.
Yep. It's not the definite.
And a no can turn into a yes sometimes, but also remember. And so, but I feel bad for her. She's trying to find something to cling to for comfort and just someone.
She got in over her head.
And then Grams, she's trying to protect her, but instead she just makes her feel worse.
Well, she slut shames her.
Right, exactly.
And
she said, you don't have any respect for yourself. Have some respect for yourself. Yeah. And it's like, oh, that's the last thing she fucking needs to hear right now.
Yeah, and that's not the core of this problem. No, right?
No.
And not to mention that, yes, Jen maybe found herself in the situation and then was like, oh no, but he was predatory.
Oh, yeah.
Period.
Dot.
He's an adult. He was predatory.
You can't expect a child to act like an adult.
Correct. Yep.
I mean,
yeah. So one thing, I have it on the page a couple times, so I'm just going to hit on it. I really liked toward the end of the episode, maybe last 10 minutes or so, there were several examples of the characters holding space for each other in different scenes. So like even Abby tries to make Dawson feel a little better about divorce.
Yeah.
And then you've got Pacey letting Andi vent and then giving her that hug. You've got Mitch, Dawson's dad, crying, and Dawson just kind of putting his hand on his back and letting him cry. I thought that was really powerful.
That scene, Mitch. Oh, I wrote there. I had 3 sad faces.
Oh my God, you do have 3.
Mitch breaking down in the kitchen.
Yeah,
because he was like, my dad taught me all these things, but he never taught me what to do if your wife has sex with somebody else, or however the hell he said it.
Yeah, if your wife cheats on you or whatever. He's like, he taught me how to fix a car and how to be a dad and how to.
Valid. Nobody teaches you what to do when you get thrown this fucking horrible curveball that you don't wish on anybody else, and that could be anything.
And the implication, of course, was that his dad's no longer with him for him to ask now.
But I think it was just like, nobody taught me how to do this.
Right.
Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, because Dawson was telling him, Dad, you have to do this and that. You have to, like, you know, and he's like, well, nobody told me how to, because, and there's no right answer. That's like the key.
No one really can tell you, because every situation's different and every relationship's different and every phase of life is different. And, you know, so there's not like you want there to be. Like, I feel for Mitch when you're in that spot and you're just like, everything sucks every direction. You want someone to be like, this is the thing to do that will work out for you. And they can't, whether it's that situation or whatever situation you're in life. I know. I really felt that. I thought that was a really good scene, because grown man crying, son letting him cry, putting his hand on his back and trying to listen. I just thought that was really good. Those are all the hugs. I mean,
Dawson had a cry moment too with Joey, right? Mm-hmm. Not the Dawson meme cry moment.
No, not that one.
That's not for a while.
That one's we're still getting to.
Yeah.
And then I put, I don't know why I put this, because I already mentioned Gail. I just said, I think this is when she was sitting on the porch toward the end. It says, Gail is so pretty and age appropriate. That's literally what I wrote in pink marker.
We have talked about that before.
We have. Yeah. But it was just a reminder. Yeah. I was just like, you know, she looks her age.
Yeah.
But she's so beautiful.
I'm telling you, though, the 90s, middle-aged people looked their age.
Yeah. She really does.
And they looked more like real people.
Yep.
Like middle-aged people and shit now, we don't look like that.
We went to turn on the camera today. We're like, Danny's like, why do we always look so tired? I'm like, because this is what we look like.
But then I'm like, they're not putting us on TV, so it's
true.
I mean, okay, so I have to say this: the full moon kiss with Joey and Jack, even though he didn't ask her first if it was okay, and he knew she had a boyfriend, I still was here for it. I'm problematic in this situation.
Cinematically, it was really pretty.
I'm like, okay, he didn't ask if it was all right. And plus, she already has a boyfriend, so you're stepping over. But, like, I was here for it.
It was really nice. And I think it's because I like Jack so much.
I know.
It's just hard. It's just hard to, he's so lovable and fun.
Okay, so again, I forgot to write down this. I wrote the time for divorce moment where he walks in, Gail's sitting in the bedroom in the chair. And they just finally are like, it's time. Oh, gutted me. Heartbreak. That's what I wrote in caps. Heartbreak.
Yeah, that was awful.
And then the whole last part of the episode was the Jewel song, Hands.
Yes.
Were you singing?
I was here. As soon as it did the do, do, I was like, oh my God, is this going to be Jewel? And then she started singing. I was like, Hands. Yes.
Have you seen?
I was so happy.
Have you seen? You have to look this up later, because you're going to need something to lighten your mood later.
Yes.
You have a very busy weekend. Or I'll just find it and send it to you. There's this YouTube clip, or maybe it's probably on TikTok, but I saw it somewhere else. This lady has, you know, those little bitty plastic hands you can buy?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
She's wearing those with like a sweatshirt and lip singing the song Hands
Oh my God. Okay.
And she's trying to like pick up she's trying to like pick up stuff. And it's like, these hands are small, I know.
Because they are small. They're literally
hilarious.
Small.
It's so funny.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
I'm going to have to check that out.
What else do you have?
That's all I had. I just said the ending montage was really great with the hands and like going between the different scenes, and it's nighttime now. So like the aesthetic of that is just so pretty. I don't know. I really liked this episode. Even, I mean, obviously there was some, it felt very much like a drama.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is a drama, but I mean, like I had that moment where I was like, oh yeah. This is like kind of like a teen soap opera kind of situation.
I think because it's season 2 is kind of where they figured out what they wanted to do with the show. Do you know?
Yes.
Like they kind of were like, all right, let's address, but then
you'll see.
I have so much to say when we go later, because they hit on so many things this season.
100%. Well, awesome. Well, we'll have episode 5. Was that 5?
I don't
6?
know.
We'll have the next episode. I think that was 5. Yeah.
Let me look at my handy dandy Care Bear notebook.
Handy candy.
Ooh.
There's an idea. We both said, ooh.
Well, we're recording on Valentine's Day.
We are.
Did you get any candy today?
Well, I'm not eating candy, so no.
Oh, that's right.
I got a rose, and then Brant is making me dinner at home, and Tegan's my little one's gonna be our waiter.
That is freaking cute.
I bet she brings her CD player.
Oh my God.
And plays me some tunes. They'll probably be Olivia Rodrigo, because those are literally the only CDs she has.
Do you want to know what we're doing?
What are you doing?
We are going to Lowe's to look for a new refrigerator.
Look, if that isn't marriage and romance after 22 years on Valentine's Day, and it will not be busy. It's a good time to go.
I know. Nobody gonna be at Lowe's on Valentine's Day except Danny and Troy Combs.
And I hope you get a good refrigerator.
We have been trying so hard to make this. Our fridge has sounded like it's gonna die for years since we bought this house 3 years ago. And now it's like things keep breaking off of it. And now things are like freezing and like condensating and like it's
too much.
It's time.
I feel like with stuff like that happened with our old fridge before we got a new one. And then an air conditioner unit that we just kept to the bitter end.
Yeah.
As soon as you take the step and change it, you're like,
life changing.
My quality of life has improved so much. Why did I wait this long?
Because it's fucking expensive. Well, that's why.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
And then it just sits in a landfill.
Also.
So that's why we try to hold on to shit as long as we can.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, but like eventually, because they don't make, having to sound like old lady, they don't make things like they used to. So nothing is made to have a long time.
Because they want you to buy new ones.
I know. All right. Well, we're going to go before we
All right, we're going to go. Thanks. It seems like you guys really like these Dawson's Creek rewatches. We get a lot of listens. So stick with us for this and our other episodes.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.